Welcome to the 6th chapter of the book of 2 Kings. It begins with Elisha again and the sons of the prophets who we ran across before. There was 50 of them. They watched the chariot with the horses on fire and the chariot pick up Elijah, take him up into heaven. And now they are with Elisha after Elisha has been lied to by Gehazi, and I have to watch what I'm saying because I have a friend, his name is Colazy. I don't want to use my friend's name for the man with Elisha, but so Elisha is now apparently without the man, and his name was Gehazi. And so later we'll hear from Gehazi when something happens on the next chapter or two. He's not completely out of the story. So the sons of the prophets, they said to Elisha, "Behold, indeed, the place in which we live before you is scant for us, it's not enough. We should go indeed into the Jordan, and we should take from there one beam per man, huge piece of wood, and we should make for ourselves a shelter to live there." And he said, "Go." So they wanted to make some type of a building by the river Jordan. So they went, and one said, "Oh, please, come with your bondmen." And he said, I'll go, I will go. And he went with them. And they came into the Jordan, and they trimmed the wood, xyla, with the axe, clearing it all up. I was just watching a video on YouTube about a man building a house out of logs, like they were here, and took the axe and trimmed off all the bark. So that's what I think they were doing here, trimming the bark off of the wood. Now, I'm not a builder as far as log cabins. I don't know why you would want to take the bark off, but I guess there's a good reason. But maybe more solid, less bugs, so forth. And it happened to one casting down the beam that the iron implement fell off from the stick into the water, to the river. And he yelled and he said, "Oh, master, it was hidden." And they lost the axe head, the iron head, and the stick is, of course, the handle. And the man of God, Elisha, said, "Well, where did it fall?" And he showed to him the place, topography, map making of places. And Elisha, plucked off wood, and he tossed it there, and the iron implement floated. So here we see that Elisha has the power even over nature, like Jesus calmed the storm and turned the water into wine. Here, this type of a power is within Elisha. Now, in my lifetime, I'm in my 80th year, I have never seen anybody with any power like that. I mean, I've heard of things, miracles have happened, but I have not partaken or seen or know anybody that actually something like this has actually happened. Do they still happen today? That I don't know. This is quite a miracle for an iron piece to come floating up to the top. And Elisha said, "Raise it to yourself, it's yours." And he stretched out his hand and he took it. Now it changes the story subject to the king of Syria was waging war against Israel. Well, the last chapter we saw with Naaman, they weren't going to attack anymore. So, but they keep fighting, between Syria, Israel, the northern country, and consulted with his servants, saying, in the place thus I will camp, and in a certain concealed place the army's going to hide. And the man of God sent to the king of Israel, saying, guard to not go by this place, for there Syria hides. So again, now another miracle. He knows what is going to happen, and Jesus knew what was inside of him. He knew he was going to the crucifixion and so forth. And here Elisha knows what's going to happen with where the army is. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him, and he guarded from there not once nor twice. Now exactly what this entails, it doesn't say, but either the army stopped them or guarded people from going there, whatever. And the soul of the king of Syria was startled on account of this word. His plan didn't work out. They knew about it. And he called his servants, and he said to them, shall you not announce to me who betrays me to the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, not so, my master, O king. For Elisha, the prophet in Israel, announces to the king of Israel all the words whichever you should speak, even in the closet of your bedroom. And he said, the king of Syria, go and see where this one is. I want him. And sending, I will take him. And they reported to him, saying, well, behold, he's in Dothan. And he, the king of Syria, sent horses and chariots, we have armaments, and a heavy force, lots of soldiers. And they came at night and surrounded the city. And the minister of the man of God rose up. Now, I don't think this was Gehazi, is another one. A liturgos, a liturgy comes from that, the ministry, and the liturgy. He rose up early and went forth. And behold, the force was encircling the city with horses and chariots. And his servants said to him, he came back, O master, what shall we do, to Elisha? And Elisha said, do not fear, phovu. We have phobia, comes from that. Do not fear, for many are the ones with us over the ones with them. Well, if you only have a few people around you and you got 1,000 people coming against you, you certainly wouldn't be able to see something like that. But yet Elisha's saying that there's more of us. And for us Christians, that's a good story here to know, a good lesson to know, because a lot of times what we see is only what we can see with our eyes. But yet, if God allows, and we really saw what was going on, it would be way different, because I believe that we have guardian angels. Now, does a non-believer have a guardian angel? I would imagine he might even have a guardian angel. It's hard to say, but could also have evil angels. But the guardian angel or angels, many came to Jesus at different times to minister to him. And Elisha prayed and said, Kyrie, open his ophthalmos, eyes, ophthalmology, and let him see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw. And behold, the mountain was full of horses, and a chariot of fire surrounding Elisha. So now he sees the power of God physically. Elisha apparently could see it, or he knows. Now, do we today have this power of seeing the same way? Things of God, maybe somebody, but again, I don't know, and I have not experienced this type of a manifestation. I've had knowing that I have a angel, I call him Floyd, and I know he is there because he's saved my hide a lot of times. I could have cut my fingers off, fallen, all sorts of things, and I know that he is with me. And I thank God. I pray for him. He's on the top of my list of my prayers. Floyd, my angel. And well, why a lot of angels are called, like, really beautiful names. Michael and Gabriel. Should I have called Floyd something more romantic type of a name, or a regal type of a name? When I run into him in heaven, I'll find out. If he says, well, that's really a stupid name, or he might say, well, this is my name, and I've been with you. God has sent me to guard you, to be with you. And even though you can't see it, I did things and you could tell that I was there. It reminds me of some of these spooky movies where things move and people feel an aura of something going on in the other world. And they came down to him. Now, they came down to him. I would imagine that would be the army of the Syrians. And Elisha prayed to the Lord and said, strike indeed this nation with inability to see. He didn't ask for their death. He just asked that they wouldn't be able to see. And now, does God do that with us? I believe he does. I think if we have under certain conditions, we can ask God that the enemy or somebody that's coming against us would not be able to do it for whatever reason. Might end up being a natural occurrence. I have a friend, a lady friend, called me up, and she lives 70 or 80 miles away from me, and she lives in a really small town, 50, 60, 70 people on the street, and one man was kind of like a maniac, taking drugs and meth and yelling and screaming at, all times of the day and out in the middle of the street, threatening her, and she was scared, and she called me. So I said, well, let's pray. So I prayed, and I said, Lord, this man up there is causing all these problems. Would you, do something to stop him? A couple of days later, I get a call from my friend. She says, you're not going to believe what happened. And I said, what? And she says, well, he and his friend decided to go sneak into somebody's garage and steal a mower or something and a gas can, and they put it in their truck, and they took off, ran off the side of the road. It turned over, caught on fire, and they were burned beyond recognition. I went, wow. That's certainly an answer to prayer there. The guy's not going to cause you any more problems. So, yeah, I have experienced something like that. So, God, he struck them with inability to see, according to the saying of Elisha. Now, I didn't ask for the man to get killed and burned to death, but it's what happened. And Elisha said to them, well, this is not the city. This is not the way. Come after me, and I'll lead you to the man whom you seek. And he took them to Samaria, probably the big city. And it came to pass, as he entered into Samaria, that Elisha said, and he's got this army with him, O Lord, open the eyes of these, and let them see. And the Lord opened wide their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they're in the midst of Samaria, the enemy. They're completely surrounded. No power whatsoever. They could be all killed. And the king of Israel said to Elisha, as he beheld them, shall by striking I strike them, O father? He calls him father, Patir. And that doesn't say which king this is, the one after Ahab. I forgot his name. And Elisha said, you shall not strike. Whom you captured by your broadsword in war and your bow, you shall strike. But place bread loaves and water before them, these here, and let them eat, let them drink, and let them go forth to their master, instead of killing them. And he, the king, placed for them a great feast. And they ate and drank, and he sent them. And they went forth to their master, and the armed bands of Syrians did not proceed still to come into the land of Israel. Well, Syria does come back into Israel because it goes into the next verse. but exactly there was a lull, I suppose you could say, of these armed bands coming in. Now it came to pass after these things that the son of Adar, Hadad in the English, King James called him Hadad, Adar in Greek, the king of Syria gathered all his camp and ascended, and he besieged against Samaria. So he had a large army. And so he surrounds this larger city, a lot larger than Dothan. And there was a great famine in Samaria. Now, it could be because they didn't have the food in Samaria because they were surrounded. And behold, they, the Syrians, laid siege against it, until of which the head of a donkey was worth 80 shekels of silver, and a fourth of a cab of dove's dung, 5 shekels of silver, which were basically worthless before, but now they could eat the donkey's head, and the dung they burn as to cook things over the dung, because we find out where, I think it was Ezekiel, is told to cook over human dung. And oh no, Lord, I've always been clean. Oh no, and the Lord said, okay, you can do it over cow's dung. So they used dung, and they had to have fires, and that was what this was for. And the king of Israel was traveling upon the wall, apparently a big city with a wall, and a woman yelled to him, saying, "Deliver us, O master, O king." And he said to her, "Oh, unless the Lord delivers you, from what place shall I deliver you? From the threshing floor or from the wine vat?" There's nothing there. There's no fresh, can't, where am I going to do? And the king said to her, "What's with you?" And she said, "Well, this woman said to me," probably a neighbor, "Give your son, and we shall eat him today, and my son we shall eat tomorrow. And we boiled my son, and we ate him," cannibalism. "And I said to her the other day, Give your son, and we should eat him. And she hid her son. And it came to pass, as the king heard the words of the woman, he tore his garment, and he traveled upon the wall." He was upset. And then, this is terrible. All these people are surrounding us, and now we're turned into cannibals. And the people saw the sackcloth upon his flesh inside, so they could see up when he's walking. Underneath, he's got this burlap, rough material. And they did that to show God that they are upset and are sorry, and pleading to him by making life uncomfortable for themselves. And he said, the king, "Thus God do to me, and thus add more, if the head of Elisha, son of Shaphat, shall stand upon him today." He is mad at God, taking it out on Elisha. And Elisha was sitting down in his house, and the elders were sitting down with him. And the king sent a man before his face. But before the coming of the messenger to him, Elisha, that Elisha himself said to the elders, "Do you see that this son of a murderer, comes to remove my head? Know as when the messenger should come, you lock the door and press against him on the door. Is not the sound of the feet of his master, the king, right after him?" So he knows what's going to happen. And while he was speaking with them, that behold, the messenger came to him. And he said, "Behold, this evil is from the Lord. Why remain behind for the Lord any longer?" Now, exactly, it sounds like it was Elisha saying this evil, these people, is from the Lord. So what are we going to do, basically, about it? Well, this is the end of the chapter, but we're left with no ending. We don't know what really happens. And what really happens is interesting. And we will find out what happens in the next chapter 7 with the Syrian army. Oh, you can see here. Let me don't look. And we'll find out about these lepers and what happens. But you'll have to join us in the 7th chapter, which I hope you will do. And until then, God bless.